Hello. Welcome. Happy New Year. Happy 2019. Isn't that cute? The boy got me that. He won some tickets playing games on his birthday. Welcome to 2019. Here we are. Is this going to be a crazy year or what? I have a feeling it is. It's getting off to a weird start. I hope everyone's holiday season went well. I hope you had all the holiday magic that you wanted to have and that you enjoyed a good time with family and friends. And if you're one of those people that doesn't have a lot of family and friends around, I hope that you found a way to make a connection with other people and still celebrate your holiday. And I say that because at one point I myself had spent a few holidays alone, and I know what that feels like. So my heart always goes out to the people that have a tough time during the holidays. I'm going to give a quick nod, not to be a downer, but I had an old friend pass away close to Christmas. And this is someone that I had been very good friends with for a long time. And he was my best friend. And we had a falling out, and it was over something kind of, in retrospect, trivial. But in the moment, it seemed important. And we had not reconnected before he passed away. So I had to process the feelings from that around the holiday season as well and think about that. And I know that I had commented about family and nostalgia and things like that leading up to the holidays. But my friend's passing also kind of reminded me that maybe holding grudges isn't the best thing for us to do. Maybe we should be more forgiving and enjoy life and the preciousness that it is, because nothing is guaranteed. So I had a little reminder of that over the holidays. And of course, I went to the Jimmy Church Fade to Black, Fade or Not party at the Rainbow Bar and Grill in Hollywood, California. And I posted a lot of photos on Facebook and Twitter. And I had a great time. It was a really good time. Jimmy was nice. He was a great host. I got to know Rita, and I met Glenn Hughes of Deep Purple. And about the time the alcohol started to go to my head, Ron Jeremy wandered through, and I turned around and Ron Jeremy was standing behind me. So I got a selfie with Ron Jeremy. Excuse me. I don't know if that's something to brag about or not. I don't know. I guess I'll let you decide that. Now, he was nice. But when you're kind of tipsy and you turn around and Ron Jeremy's standing right behind you, you kind of question yourself a little bit. So I had a moment of, really? But yeah, so Jimmy was a great host. Rita, a great hostess. At one point, I know that I grabbed the microphone in the room. I found a hot mic. And me and alcohol and a hot mic is usually a combination for trouble. And I said something stupid, and I got to be honest with you, I don't even remember what I said. It was just blah. But Jimmy thought it was funny. So I had a good time there. And when I came back, I immediately almost just got this massive strep throat. I think I went through the Jeremy LAX and Sky Harbor down in Phoenix, and almost got sick, fought it with antibiotics, and I trucked through the new year. And here we are. And I am going to talk about the topic in the title of the show. I am going to talk about the electrical outlets in Queens and down in Louisiana, and the 911 service being interrupted. I'll talk about that in a little bit. This is not going to be a whole episode of just me talking about what I'm going to do and what I did do. We'll talk about some relevant news. Excuse me. Speaking of which, it did happen. For Christmas, Santa was extremely kind, and I got an Allen & Heath XB142, which is a professional broadcast grade mixer, and it has 2 channels that are specifically for taking phone calls. And I'm going to figure out how to make that magic happen, and at some point we will be adding a phone line or two so that people can call in. I think that will add some extra dimension to the show. Anyway, So on to the big news of today. And that is we finalized our list of people who are participating in the trip to Area 51. And we had really great news today in that Kelly Farmer of Explaining Esoterica, uh, she had an arrangement with her. She had another talk with her employer, and I guess schedules were able to become flexible, and she is going to go. So it's going to be a total of 6 of us going. And it's going to be Rex Bear, Heidi Gadd, Doc Skinner, Kelly Farmer, myself, and Michael Moriarty of Pursuing X. And so the 6 of us are going to go out to Area 51 in March, and we're going to do the 30-year anniversary of the Bob Lazar, John Lear footage that was captured out there. And so there'll be more to come about that. I'm not going to go on and on about that. But that's big news. And on the 18th, I am traveling to New York City to go to New York State to go to COSM, the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, which is the facility that is has been created by Alex and Allison Jones. Jesus. Alex Jones. Wow. What kind of weird programming is that? Alex Gray, the famous artist. Alex Gray and his wife, Allison, they have a tremendous long career in the art world. Long before Alex Gray ever did a Tool album cover, long before Tool as a band existed, Alex Gray was creating art and doing performance art as well. So the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors is going to be extra special, and I can't wait to share that with you. Alan Steinfeld is doing a remote viewing workshop there, and I'm taking the remote viewing workshop, and I'm not going to impose on that and like take a camera into that and show that. I might take a couple photographs of the moment, but I'll just participate in that like a normal participant, and then I'm going to be interviewing Alan, and hopefully I can interview Alex Gray and Allison, and we'll see. I'm waiting on a confirmation. So I have asked politely, but I have not gotten a confirmation back. So we'll see what happens. And as soon as I get back from that, on January 25th, we're going to be interviewing Mark Gemini Thwaite, who is one of the world's most famous alternative rock guitar players. And he's currently on tour with Peter Murphy and David J. Haskins, who are doing a 40-year retrospective of Bauhaus. And Mark Gemini Thwaite has played on at least one Peter Murphy album that I know of, and has toured with him several times. So he's also played with the Mission UK. He has his own project, MGT, and Gemini Night is also an album of his, and we'll be talking more about his material, his solo stuff, and his work with these other bands as we get closer to that. So keep an eye out for that. So I have a lot of things going on. That's 2019 is starting out to be busy, and we're starting to talk about which conventions we want to cover and which ones we might want to pass on. But I can tell you that for sure I will be at the International UFO Congress here in Phoenix this year. That is the hometown convention, and I know that I will be there for sure. So please come and see me. And I will just kind of get on to it. This is 9 minutes of me just catching up with you. I wonder if you were paying attention, and I'm certainly not the first person to comment on this. I'm talking about the power outages in Queens, New York, where it turned the sky a brilliant kind of neon blue. And then in Louisiana as well, they had several transformers blow, and there was some very dramatic footage of electricity moving up and down the lines, and the lights and electricity coming on and off in the nearby buildings. And it was really whacked out and crazy. And this also coincided with some 911 outages in different areas of the country. CenturyLink was handling a lot of those accounts for 911 emergency phone calls, and the system was taxed. All this stuff was happening in the same period of time. And as I watched CNN just kind of take note of it, but then, you know, they're kind of up to their necks in politics. So other kinds of news gets kind of short shrift right now. And in terms of the deep state, perhaps I can see why. I don't think they wanted people talking about it. But I turned to my partner at the time, even when the news was on, I said, this is some kind of a hack. This is an attack. These kind of things don't just go on. And this is too much going on, and this is not a frequent occurrence. And for these two things to happen this close together, and you know, I'm picky and choosy with my conspiracy theories, I guess. And you know, there are some that I absolutely believe, and then there are some very popular conspiracy theories that I just do not believe in. That the moon landing was a hoax, for instance, I don't believe that. I believe we went to the moon. I believe we sent astronauts to the moon. I believe we landed. I don't think we're being told the truth about what they found there, or what some of their experiences might have been on the moon or during the journey, but I believe we went there. I absolutely do. I've been to the Kennedy Space Center. I've taken a tour. I've seen the equipment, and you'll never change my mind. Anyway, I digress. So these transformers went out, 911 outages. There was some reportage of UFO activity near some of this, but I don't think very many people zeroed in on that aspect of this. And a few nights ago, maybe it was the first, New Year's Day, Dark Journalist did a show, and I was in the chat room, and he did extensive, detailed reporting on the incident. And so he had commented as well. I just hadn't had an opportunity for my show to roll around yet on a Friday or Saturday to talk about this, because my last episode, as you may know, was pre-recorded with Kelly Farmer. So I hadn't done a show in a couple of weeks, and, you know, other people have gotten to speak about this, obviously, but they had shows before mine. So anyway, here we are talking about it. What do you think? You can comment below. I haven't even looked in the chat room. I don't know who's there, if anyone. It could be 5,000 people, like the last show, or it could be 2 people. Let's see. Brandon Young, Lady Zaga, Sherry, Out of Mind. Let's see. No Lisa P, but I see Pursuing X, of course. The professor is in the house. Thank you all for watching. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Boo, I see that. I believe the Chinese are there. The professor. What a trickster. So anyway, in terms of this, the electrical grid, and I have said, and once again, I'm not saying anything new. Other people have said this, but I have held this belief for a very long time. And by a very long time, I mean about 25 years. I one time got to peruse a book. It was a high-level academic book, and it was about how electrical systems are built, not just on the local level, but how electricity is generated and distributed over long distances on the macro scale. You know, the kind of energy that serves cities and towns and large capacity systems for transmitting electricity. And I'm not going to pretend that I understood it. I am not mathematically inclined, so the formulas didn't mean anything to me. But I was able to glean enough from that academic book, and it was a hardcover academic book. And it just got my thought process going. And even then, you know, I was a young person at the time. And I thought, you know, that the electricity is it. If anyone ever took out the electrical grid, that would, you know, everything we depend on. And, you know, some things would exist. Yes, there'd still be tanks of fuel and things like that, but you need electricity to turn on a pump to pump the fuel. Or, you know, things wouldn't become absolutely impossible, but it would become very difficult. And refrigeration would stop, and the network of food distribution would suddenly stop, and grocery stores would be looted and empty, and burglar alarms wouldn't exist because there'd be no electricity. And, you know, I don't need to go into too much detail. We can all imagine radiating collateral damage of losing the electrical grid. And it's been mentioned on Coast to Coast quite a few times, maybe in reference to an EMP or a solar flare. I think George Norrie has a thing for solar flares. He's mentioned it a lot, but I agree as well that it is a danger. But I think the thin veneer, the thin glue that holds our society together is electricity, kids. It's the access to electricity. Without electricity, modern life as we know it will grind to a halt. So the fact that I believe some foreign nation could hack into our electrical grid, I think that we're very vulnerable there. I think we should be very careful. And I'm just opining. I'm not here to like give you, statistics like on electrical events, but I just think this is something worth paying attention to. And I just wanted to speak to you, the viewers, and say, follow that story. I believe it was Kenner, Louisiana, and then it was Queens, and then the CenturyLink 911 outages. I believe all those things are tied together. And I think something is going on there. And, also, if you think about a way to perpetrate a false flag, if such a thing were to happen, that would also be a way to do it, attack your own infrastructure. That could affect politics. That could affect local and federal politics. It could be making a statement about the infrastructure of the country. Or so, that has economic effects, that has political effects. And I advise you to keep a close eye on those stories. I think there's more to learn about that. And I think that some more hardcore journalists, such as dark journalists, I think he'll be on the case. So I would keep an eye on his show, and he might be laying out more of the technical details of that. Also, what I found interesting was this collective of hackers called the Dark Overlord. And the Dark Overlord has, I guess, put up on through a Tor server some documents related to insurance holdings for properties involved in 9/11 in New York. My understanding is to buy a key to the site costs $450, and that they're willing to do this document dump to the highest bidder rather than to any specific party. So this collective of hackers, they want to sell this information, and they say that a second document dump will be even more damaging and quote unquote, I mean, you hear it so much, it's become a cliche, but they say it will be very damaging to the deep state. And I get troubled by that because I'll tell you why. I really liked the term deep state until everyone started using it. The first couple of times I heard it, I was like, deep state. That's a great description. I think, it's kind of dramatic, but also kind of concisely sums up this kind of nebulous they, them, right? But deep state it has a ring to it. And then the mainstream media started wearing it out, and I'm over the term. But in terms of what it meant originally, I liked it. So this second document dump could be extremely damaging to the deep state, or so they're stating. And I think we're in interesting times when someone might have some kind of explosive data or information about a false flag or any kind of terrorist event, any kind of violent event that affects society, and take that information, withhold it, and not share it for the common good, but hold back for profit. It's kind of like, this cyber version of superheroes, right? Like, we see all the Marvel and DC characters, and we all love those kinds of movies and that kind of entertainment. And we kind of wish that we lived in a world where there were superheroes that could kind of swoop in and solve our problems for us. But that's not the universe that we live here in on a day-to-day basis. So, hackers and people like that, they seem to have kind of like superpowers, right? They have this technical ability to hack and get information. And it's interesting when hackers are doing things that you support or things that you agree with or releasing information that you think should be let out. But then, what do you think of hackers when they're fucking around with stuff that shouldn't be messed with necessarily? You know what I mean? So, or doing this, having valuable information that would help expose a conspiracy, but holding out for money. Um, I don't know. I think that act, I think the blackmail aspect of that kind of speaks for itself. I don't really need to comment. I'm not trying to pick a fight with hackers, by the way. I would be no match for a hacker, and I have no real beef with hackers in general, except, I don't know. I think the document dump should be done for the good of our society and that they shouldn't hold out for the money. But of course, let me know what you think in the comments. And by the way, speaking of subscribing, liking, and sharing the videos, which I like to mention, I surpassed 300 subscribers by the end of the year. I was so happy. I got desperate. I did a little bit of desperate begging on Facebook when I was a few short towards the end. But I did, and we bumped up over 300 viewers a little bit. So the first show of Mysterious Forces Live was broadcast on August 24th, and then here we are on January 4th, and we have bumped up to about 306 subscribers. So I'm very happy with that growth, and I want to thank the subscribers and the viewers and the people that are hanging with me. I appreciate it. Testing the grid out of mind says that could very well be. Guccifer, who allegedly died in prison, the one who obtained the Hillary Clinton emails. That's from Lady Zaga in the chat room. I appreciate all of you being here. Thank you so much for watching live. I know that it's late on the East Coast, but anyway. So we have this threatened document dump by the Dark Overlord, but they want to do it for cash. I just think that's a drag, man. What does it come to when people have to do that? I guess I want my hackers to be quote unquote good guys who are going to do good things. And, I've supported Julian Assange up to a point, but then it seemed like Julian Assange started playing politics himself. And I don't want that to be inferred that I would become critical of Assange just because he worked against the Democrats. Like I've said, this is not a political show, but I am neither Democrat nor Republican. That two-party system, the classic two-party system of America, they lost me with all of their corporate money. And even though obviously I would most likely appear to be a person that would lean towards liberal politics, when the Democrats played dirty with Bernie Sanders and elevated Hillary Clinton and cheated Bernie Sanders out of his due recognition and nomination, I was done with any idea of supporting the Democrats. So I cannot support any politician that takes corporate money. So that's where I'm at on that. This is not a political show, but that's where that goes. Like the left and right politics, kids, I'm telling you, it's a joke. It's two sides of the same coin. And, it's like the Republicans are going to get you and the Democrats are going to get you. And it's basically the only difference is, do you want lube or do you want it dry? And the Republicans are not going to use any lube, and the Democrats, they might even give you a bag lunch and lube, but yeah. So anyway, that's my take on local politics. Not local, but I had an interesting discussion about local politics. Maybe we'll get into this another time. I want to get into some economic theory here in 2019 as well. I know that seems like a rambling kind of segue, but I'm thinking ahead and, once again, not delving into left and right politics. I think it's a distraction. I think it's created purposely so to distract us from important topics and issues. You know, but I think economics, the economy, uh, it's always a big story. But I think that we're going to see some kind of economic shakeup in 2019, and it's going to affect our society. And I'd like to get an expert on here and talk about that with them. And here we are at 10:25. I'm doing that song and dance of like, wow, 5 minutes left. What am I going to talk about? We have some great guests coming up. I'm playing footsies with some people. We're just trying to get our schedules to link up, but these are people that you can look for on the show who have committed to coming on. We're just working out the details. And that is Cheryl Costa, who has a new show, a new podcast on, and she's going to come on and talk about that. And John Greenwald of the Black Vault fame, he's got a new book coming out, and we're trying to link up and figure out time to do that. I think he's going to come on and talk about that. And who else? I had there's a couple of other people that have been on towards the end of the year, October through December, and they were such great guests. And I don't want you to think, if I bring a guest back on the show, it's because I really like them as a person, and it also means that what they had to say was so cogent and so relevant. And they probably left a conversation. You know, they're the type of guest that you could just talk to forever because there's always something more to talk about. And Laird Scranton is one of those people. And actually, you know, I'm going to tell you the one show that I did, the last live show I did with Dr. Hine and Buddy, that was incredible. If you haven't seen that show, and I'm not saying this just because it's my show, go back and watch that. We touched on remote viewing and some other topics, and it got pretty deep, and it was really a good show. There were some technical glitches waiting for everyone to get synced up in the beginning, so kind of look past that. There was 10 minutes or so of me kind of waiting for the technical issues to get solved, but once we all three were linked up in the conversation, it was incredible. So I highly suggest going back and looking at that show. Oh yeah, CW Chanter has agreed to come back on. I think it goes without saying that you should look for some more Kelly Farmer as well. And hello. And she's doing Explaining Esoterica and Esoterica Street with Jimmy Pearson of Jimmy and Mika fame of Fascination Street. And I was also on Fascination Street during the holidays, so go check out Fascination Street. They have some engaging episodes, and we're all becoming fast friends here. So we're kind of the new kids on the block in this genre of broadcasting, but we're sticking together, and we're a group of people who have some integrity in this community, and we're all sticking together, and we believe in supporting people who have integrity. So I'm always going to align myself with that camp. I'm not going to give in and just have someone on with some nonsense that I don't believe in. I owe you, the viewer, more than that. And I think I owe it to myself. Like, why would I propagate what I believe to be is nonsense? I just don't want to do that. But, you know, I don't want to play mean. I want to play nice. I want to be friends with everyone, right? Who doesn't? It's 2019. We're turning over a new leaf, right? So we have to play nice. Speaking of playing nice, do we have any happy music? We do have happy music. Who can ever be sad? So, who's going to Area 51? Rex Bear, Doc Skinner, Heidi Gadd, Kelly Farmer, Michael Moriarty, and myself. That's going to be in late March. Mark Gemini Thwaite will be in late January and be looking for the material from the Cosm, the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, which is the facility by Alex Gray and Allison Gray. And I'm going to be doing the remote viewing workshop with Alan Steinfeld, and there'll be content coming with Alan, and it's going to be fantastic. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being here. I wish you well, and I wish you only the best for this new year, 2019. Love your families, love your friends, and be forgiving. Perhaps that's the lesson of this year. Thank you for being here, everyone, and we will keep you posted as to what's up. Bye.